Hi, Misha here. And one thing that's really nice and fun about having people new to shoot with, guns that seem kind of old hat to you become new to them. And so I wanted to bring out my trusty old Vepr 12 shotgun and let Fox give it a gander. Seemed like something he would enjoy with his AK spirit. So, let me run a mag through it, make sure it hasn't got too dusty over the last couple of years, because it has been a couple of years since we've done a video on this. Then we'll hand it off to Fox. Vepr 12. Molot has made a name for itself manufacturing cannons and the RPK light machine gun. And while the Vepr 12 started off as at least a prototype design at Izhmash, formerly Izhevsk, Molot took it over very quickly and added their RPK charm. And it definitely pops up in some areas, but not all. They both have this 1.5mm stamped receiver with a bulged front trunnion here. Of course, the barrels are very different. The top covers are very different. Handguards are actually very similar. The big difference is internal to them. The Vepr 12 doesn't really have room for the heat shield, but at least the standard style, because of the thicker barrel. We also have a very similar windage and elevation adjustable sight. But really where they're the same is just the build quality. Machined parts, mostly, very few stampings, very few castings. Molot really sticks with that, the old style machined. Of course, no bipod on this, although that would be very amusing. But yeah, I just wanted to have a quick little comparison there, side by side, with my FM RPK 74. Fox's very first shots through any Vepr 12. Woo-hoo-hoo! I don't think he liked it at all. What do you think? It is a lot of fun. High quality gun with a lot of things that probably do seem standard today, but really were revolutionary for a mag-fed shotgun when this came out. The magwell being the biggest. It doesn't seem like much, but anyone who's ever worked with the Sega knows how nice it is. I like how when it's done, when it's empty, this flap comes down, hits your finger so you know you're empty right there. It's also pretty easy to hit, even on an empty mag. Mags drop free, and mags insert just fine. It even has a little manual hold open tiny button down here if you need to hold it open for range, show it's clear, cleaning, whatever. It's just a very well thought out magwell. The only downside to it, because it is a straight in insert, your mag's only held in by one lug in the back. That works fine for the standard magazines. I think it's a lot of pressure if you want to load up a drum, because a 20-round drum is really big and really heavy, and you're putting all that on your little catch there. But that's just my take. Your mileage may vary. Speaking of the mags, in it right now is the standard 8 rounds. It's what police, military users have. When you get these in the country, they come with a little 5-rounder, kind of a sporting mag. It still has its purpose even today. It's nice to have just 5 rounds. In fact, I usually only load up about that many because it is still 12 gauge. But it also makes it compact, right there lining up with the pistol grip, barely hanging down any further. So that's also a very common mag here. And then finally we have the largest factory mag that's been imported. the 10 rounder. Even though it's only 2 rounds more than the 8 over here, you can see really where that spring has to get a lot thicker to hold 10 rounds. Some people put a 12 in. I think that's too far. And as far as I know, the 12s are all American made. Could be wrong. But when it comes to the real Russian, the 10's the biggest I've seen. This one's stiff still. Come on. There we go. Of course, it's also quite heavy with 10 rounds of 12 gauge in there. But for comedy value, I guess it works. Another mag fail. You can tell they eject them out with plenty of force, which is good. People like drop free, right? But that's kind of the purpose of this gun, aside from being a military gun. It's a competition gun, and you do want mags that swap in and out. And that really is where it does better than the Saiga. The hinge top cover, it's very stiff. And this one's, I've had it 10 years, still stiff. And that's what allows this pick rail to still maintain plenty good zero, at least for a shotgun. You know, if it's a target gun, you may not want to do that. But you have your iron sights here. Standard RPK 2-piece rear trunnion, as they call it. We'd call it a stock hinge. And of course, this flips around 3 positions very easily. And locks in. Rubber recoil pad. Very pleasant shooting gun. A lot of fun. And it eats quite a wide range of ammo. More from the Vepr 12.
Vepr 12.
And that was just Walmart special federal cheapo birdshot. The RPK 74 had a fixed stock. The RPK S74 had an optional folder. But with the RPK 74M, a solid body left side folder became standard. Now the original RPKS had a bullet tip you had to use. That's what the hole's on the other side for, to unlatch it. Newer versions though have this. And even though the stocks look different and are different, the mechanism here is the same. The way it folds and unfolds. And that's good. That means this has a folding stock intended for use on a light machine gun. So it should be plenty durable for a 12 gauge semi-automatic shotgun. Let's try the Vepr 12 this way. So yeah, Fox had a lot of fun. We had no failures out of it, even with the Federal. Now, it would have been good to do an in-person talk with him, as we did with the LMT and KUSA. But we ran out of time that day. So what we're going to do, I emailed him a few questions, trying to get his kind of take on this gun. So we're going to cut over to him as he answers those. And then we'll come back here to wrap things up.
What's up, everybody? It is Fox, and today we're going to be discussing the Vepr 12. I'm going to be giving you guys my overall thoughts and opinions, and kind of just how I feel about this firearm. So let's start with the first question. Misha says, what were your initial impressions and what were you feeling? Well, that's pretty easy to answer, because straight up joy and excitement. Because a little bit about me, I'm not a big fan of 12 gauges. Now, before you jump all over me, there's a lot of other guns I shoot other than shotguns, but there are two that hold a very special place in my heart, and that's the Vepr 12 and the M4. So how I was feeling, like, there's very few guns that still make me go giggity, and the Vepr 12 is for sure one of them. So as soon as Misha broke this dude out of the case, I immediately, my inner first-time child shooting guns just came about. So definitely a whole lot of excitement and eager to get one of these back in my hands.
Vepr 12 with Fox.
Makes me laugh. So next question is going to be, what did you think of the AR style straight in magwell and last round bolt hold open? First off, I've got to say I really like the last round bolt hold open. That's just one more less thing that I've got to finagle with and worry about messing with on the gun whenever I'm trying to reload or get back into action. And as far as the AR style mag, I cannot complain at all. I really like that function of the gun, and ultimately just having those mags preloaded to where you can grab, pick up, and put in. I didn't have to fight it. I do have a little bit of more familiar use with the SDS Lynx, and it seems like with that style of mag, you do fight it a little more. I did find on the Vepr 12, it was a whole lot easier to get those magazines in. And of course, last round bolt hold open. I think those two combinations together work really well for one another.
As far as Mullats mag designs, they certainly have a theme here. Here's a 45 round 545 mag. These are fiberglass reinforced nylon type polymer. They do have steel lugs, feed lips, and even body with a metal bottom. Their 5.56 mags look very similar with this kind of horizontal ribbing. Of course, here's our shotgun mag. Now the shotgun mags retain a polymer base plate, probably because of size. And of course they're a lot thicker. We have the rear lug here, but not the front because of the magwell. And we do have major steel reinforcements here where the shells ride up. And that is that's a good thing. I shouldn't have loaded it up all the way, but oh well. Okay. The only minor issue, and it was really my fault, I grabbed brand new mags, and sometimes when they're brand new in the gun, this part back here isn't worn in yet, so unless you really slam them in, they might kind of not seat or bounce back out on you. Even though I've been using my gun for a decade, I still make that mistake, especially when I fully load these mags. But, hey, it's still easier, it's still less fail than with Saiga 12 mags, at least generally speaking.
Next question is, what did I particularly like about the Vepr 12? And there's probably going to be a few things I like about it. One, that it's set up on the AK platform. That is the gun that I have trained with the most, I'm most familiar with. Don't laugh at my mag exchanges and stuff. I do have a lot of experience with the AR-15 platform. So having that with the Vepr 12, there's already kind of a familiar feel there with that firearm. So that is definitely a plus. And really the reliability, to be able to put birdshot in, a semi-auto shotgun or an auto shotgun and have that reliability. It's pretty cheap to shoot, reliable, fun to shoot. The recoil was not anything that threw me around. I understand I may be a little bit of a bigger guy, but actually another family member who's probably 60 pounds less than me was still able to shoot it and for the most part keep it on a target. So what I like about it, easy to keep on target, reliable, and the fact that, I just like the AK. I like that platform, and goes back to even that AR style mag. I love the ease of putting that in with that last round bolt hold open.
Vepr 12 with the 10 round.
Clear.
It goes quick. Talking mag pouches, we have limited options, although more today than we did years ago when the Vepr started coming in. Here's our mag. Part of it is length, part of it's just how thick it is. Here's a 2-cell style pouch that I have a few of these of. It's out of Russia. Right now it has Saiga 12 mags in it. But Vepr's fit actually a little bit better. Saiga 12 mag's weird. It's a little skinnier, but it's also got the 2 lugs. So this, even though it's a little boxier, only has the 1 lug. You can do that. You can also use a standard RPK pouch meant for the 40 or 45 round rifle mags. And in fact, if you want to put your 10 round mags in a pouch, this is about your only option. Even then, it's hard to squeeze more than 2 in because they are tall and thick. But we do have some mag pouch options, and you know me, I like slings and mag pouches. Of course, as far as slings go, standard AK sling, although this is a Bulgarian sling, not Russian. But yeah, any sling will fit.
So, as I mentioned a minute ago about having the SDS links, next question would be, how does the Vepr 12 stack up against the SDS Lynx 12? Honestly, there's just no comparison. This kind of goes back to, sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings, but just quality. Guys, I mean, you're talking a $300 or $400 gun versus, you know, an actual Russian, Ukraine military gun. I mean, there's just no comparison. And you really feel that from the minute you pick it up, from the weight difference to the recoil to just its overall reliability. Now, with that being said, I've probably put 100 rounds through the SDS Lynx, and no major issues, but it just can't compare. The way the gun recoil system is, even the mag fitment and everything, it's just, the Vepr blows anything of its predecessors completely out of the water. So Vepr 12 all day, quality, you just can't beat it.
Saiga 12. Stovepipe.
Nope.
Now, get out of my gun.
There you go. You're good. Stovepipe.
What kind of ammo is this?
Federal. Value packs.
Yeah.
Don't have enough energy to cycle.
No biggie.
Yep.
This isn't a Saiga 12 or clone versus Vepr 12 video. We've done those before. You can find them in somewhere. But the big difference is the magazines, really, in the Rock and Lock style, AK style, front lug, back lug, versus no front. Yeah. That's the difference, really. The Saiga 12 is based on the modern AK-100 series. Of course, like we said, that's based on the RPK. Furniture's a little different. Gas system's a little different because the Saiga 12 does have a couple of adjustment positions. The Vepr 12 does not. The Saiga 12 is lighter, and that might matter to some. But the Vepr 12 is beefier, and generally speaking, seems to be a little more reliable, especially with lighter loads. You know, choice is yours. But the major difference is how the magazines work. The Saiga 12, unless it's one of the versions that does take drop-free mags, which we didn't really get in America to talk about. You have a manual last round hold open only. You have to use the lever. And you have to rock them in, and to do that with a full mag, you really need the bolt back. It's a workable system. Vepr 12 is a truly serviceable system, but when it comes to the magazines. So that to me is the biggest difference.
So next question would be, what did I dislike and what would I change about the Vepr 12? So for my dislikes, I'm not a big fan of, Misha will cut over and show you what I'm talking about, but on the safety, I'm not a big fan, and it makes sense on paper, but really having this gun in your hand, the safety select that was added, the, I guess, extra flare out on that safety, I'm already used to kind of taking my both fingers off of the AK pistol grip and flipping that safety lever down. So really having that extra flare out, that's not anything I didn't necessarily get in the way, but I don't like it. That would be, it seemed a little janky, like as far as the sharpness, stiffness, it just didn't seem like anything that I could justify using one finger versus it actually being in the way and getting on the top of my hand. Things I would change out, well, let's start with the barrel length. Having that 18 and then 18.5 inch barrel, I really feel, for me, I would like to cut that barrel down. Maybe a cardinal sin for this gun, I understand. Hey, at one point in time, these were pretty easy to get. So if I had a couple of them in the closet, I'm cutting one down in SBR in it. So let's at least get below 16 inches. I mean, fair enough. Okay, keep it at 16 inches, but me personally, I would like to cut it down and turn this more into an SBR style firearm. I mean, I'm not going skeet shooting with it. So that would be one thing I would change probably immediately. Also, you guys should all know, I'm a massive Holosun fan, so that dude's getting a 510C in all black to match the color of the gun. And then, of course, we would spray paint it. So, Holosun, cut the barrel down, and definitely a lower handguard. I would like to have something out there for a foregrip attachment. Something you could put a flashlight on, and of course a foregrip. I think if you had something to kind of hold on to on that end for people that the gun does kind of move around a whole lot, I think that would cut down a lot of that kind of recoil and being able to move that size of a gun. So really wouldn't change a whole lot. I do like accessorizing a lot of our my guns in the collection. So typical red dot, a few things like that, spray paint. Yeah, that should kind of sum it up there. But for the most part, right out of the box and playing with it, it doesn't really scream, I need much work done. So there you go.
As to the safety, I would tend to agree, and that is one of the few minor complaint points you'll read. The front is very standard. Mine is not too tight, not too loose, but a lot of them are very tight new. This extension, it's usable, but it is one of the few places they're using stamped steel. And what a lot of people do is they'll rubber coat this, because it is very thin if they want to use it. So part of it could be training, part of it is quite sharp. Of course, if someone's using gloves, it won't matter. Now, pretty much all of the Vepr 12s we've got have that, but really only the side folding ones also came with this secondary safety on this side. And it is very stiff to use, frankly. Yeah. Even now with all the years, and it's part of it's the angle I'm at, but you can see I'm putting a decent amount of force. It's kind of shaped like the Tanto Barrel safety. It's small enough it doesn't come down to your grip and hit your finger, but it's a thing there. You'd probably want to rubber coat it. It's mostly just a thing that I don't really think works that great, but it also doesn't hurt anything being there, I suppose. Fox was also talking about the handguard. Yeah, this is just the standard basic RPK type, but there is a version that comes with a rail below and a rail below above, and there's also a quad rail. You can do that. Now, they have to be wide enough inside to go around the 12 gauge barrel, but otherwise, pretty much RPK handguards are what will fit. And the pistol grip, I like it. It's that large ergonomic style, but it does just screw on, so you can put various other AK grips on. Where you're kind of stuck is with this stock. If you get a folder, this is pretty much the only one that'll fit. I mean, theoretically, that solid body RPK stock could be put on, but if you do the folder, just be content with the folder. I mentioned this because back when these were on the market, people asked all the time. Now, the fixed stock version had a standard rear trunnion, and that did give you quite a few more options, so some people did prefer those.
So let's compare this gun to the let's take the Vepr 12 and compare it to the Benelli M4. Misha did this on purpose because he knows these are my two favorite shotguns. Keep in mind, other than just the classic family shotguns I grew up with, I just haven't been on board with a lot of shotguns over the years. This is a tough one, but it's all going to boil down with what I can run reliably and comfortable. So the way I think of firearms is what I can pick up and maneuver, be comfortable with as far as whether I'm having to put it into action or just doing drills or overall just finagling with it. And it's going to go down to the mags. I'm not good at loading M4s and shotguns, turning them upside down, whether it's on my shoulder and throwing 12 gauge bullets in there, or it's the 12 gauge bullets I've got on a vest and I'm having to lay the gun upside down and load it. I'm just not that good at it. And that boils down to practice. However, having the Vepr 12 and having the magazines and the AR-15 fitment and the last round bolt hold, it's just easy. As soon as you're shooting it, go to the table or your vest or your side pouches, whatever it is you're keeping those massive mags in, pull the dude out, throw it into the gun, and move forward. So I love the M4. I love the Vepr 12, but the Vepr 12, let's face it, I'm an AK fanatic, Russian AKs at that. And yeah, that definitely kind of takes the cake, is my ease of use. I'm not downplaying the M4 because it's very good, but to the Vepr 12, I'm just more comfortable with it and I'm better at running it. Benelli M4.
I knew it.
Benelli M4. Beautiful.
Everyone who doesn't own a Benelli and trains with it often does that. It's just because Benellis have their own manual of arms. One good thing about them, M1, M2, even M3 to a great extent, and M4, it's very similar, but you need to try. With the Vepr, you do pick up on the advantage of mostly an AK manual of arms, and that really is a benefit. And many people tout that for a lot of the mag-fed AR-style shotguns too. The difference, those are not really built for police, military, or heavy competition use. The Vepr 12 obviously is. This isn't a Benelli versus Vepr video, but it really is just, there are benefits to tube-fed, there are benefits to magazine. That can be for another day. That's the biggest difference. I would say the Benelli M4 is maybe a little bit more reliable, especially when dirty. The Vepr may be slightly finickier, but both are built tough and both will do the job. Of course, the Vepr does have a folding stock. The Benelli just has a collapsing. On the other hand, standard barrel is 18 inches, but it's a bare muzzle, whereas that Vepr, what really makes it seem longer is the removable flash hider on mine. And what's funny is this is about the shortest Russian device. There are some competition ones that are ginormous, and there are 20+ inch barrel versions. The military standard version, the police standard version, has a 16.9 inch barrel. I've often wanted to cut this one down to 16.9 and then just perm-attach this muzzle device. I think losing roughly 2 inches would really help it. In the police military service too, there is the 12 inch, but that would be an SBS, and that's a whole other thing. Just to clarify, 18 inches is the minimum length for a shotgun 16 rifle.
So my final thoughts and opinions with a good range day with the Vepr 12 are two things. One, being involved with firearms for so many years, and especially being a first cousin to Misha, I've grown up with probably every firearm you can think of, either at least in my hands or in the same room as those with Misha. So it's hard to get me really excited. Now, don't take that as a way as other firearms don't get me excited, but there's just an extra level of joy and excitement with the Vepr 12. I mean, you just want to, like, one, it takes your breath away. Two, you kind of just want to chuckle and laugh. I mean, it just takes you back to, like, memory lane from the first time you shot your very first favorite gun. It really does that every time. And there's few guns that I just feel like, hey, I want to shoot hundreds of rounds through this. Not because I'm testing the gun or trying to get familiar with the gun and get better with drills with the gun, but just truly because I want to stand in one spot and just squeeze the trigger as fast as I can and let this gun rock the living shit out of me and laugh about it. Because that's what the Vepr 12 does. You just have to shoot it. It's like the roller coaster. Buy the ticket and ride the ride. But that's kind of where I'm at with the gun. The reliability's there, the comfort's there. It is a little heavy, but keep in mind that is that longer barrel, which is something that I would change, we discussed earlier. But overall thoughts and opinions, one, I have to have one, thanks Misha. And two, I'm going to shoot it a lot when I do get this gun back in my hands. And really, I just think that it's a shame we missed out on buying a whole lot of these. And shout out to you guys that did buy a lot of these, because you have a great gun. And I'd like to throw something in the comments, because I know a lot of you guys are going to know, especially following Misha's channel for all these years, but what does Vepr mean in Ukraine and Russia? So throw that in the comments. Don't Google it. I want to see who gets it first. What does Vepr mean in Ukraine and Russia? But anyways, guys, that's kind of my overall thoughts, opinions, and summary on the Vepr 12. And as always, thanks for watching. This is Fox, and I'll catch you around.
Vepr 12. No more recoil on that 223.
No.
This was, I'm definitely glad I took this out. I do like to bring it out at least once a year. We've compared it with Sega's. Jero was actually just talking about how much better this mag is to work with versus the Sega 12 mag. It's one that never fails to please, and it's just a very high quality gun. When people talk about failures, warranty stuff, one of the very few brands that I have a hard time thinking, and I'm sure there's a few out there, but I have a hard time thinking of serious warranty, recall, repair, QC issues. Molots, they just maintained quality, be it their rifles or their shotguns. When I picked this one up, they were about $1,200 for the folding stock. But several years ago, we put out a video saying get one of these if you want it, because the price dropped as low as $7.99. It's a heck of a deal for a Russian-made, combat-worthy and competition-worthy shotgun. And this one's stock. The only thing I did to it, I put on a Molot birdcage flash hider. There's all kinds of other devices you can get for these threads. It's the same thread pattern as the Sega. I like the simple birdcage. And magazines are nice for these too. The mags for the Vepr have always been cheaper than the Sega 12s. There were times when these 8-rounders factories were under $50. If that seems expensive to you, go shopping around for detaching mags for 12-gauge shotguns, and you'll realize that $50 for the actual factory deal, not bad. Now, of course, ever since these were sanctioned in June of 2017, the mags have risen to a little under 100, but compare that to Sega 12 mags, they're well over 100. And the Sega 12s are 5 and 8 rounds. The Vepr 12s, you can do 8 or 5, or the 10-rounder that's still on the floor. But yeah, I just thought this would be fun, and I'm sincerely happy that Fox had a lot of fun shooting it. Now the problem, he wants me to find him one for himself, because he's not getting mine, and that's not a joke. I like this gun. I've had it a long time, and I can't replace it, so that's why it comes out occasionally. This and the Benelli M4, they kind of swap back and forth as being my favorite semi-auto 12 gauges. As always, if you could, please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check out the link to our Patreon page. This is Misha. Catch you very soon next time.